Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the FNM show. I'm your host, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Tonight we are thrilled to have with us Saint Augustine of Hippo. Saint Augustine is a doctor of the Catholic Church and a key contributor to what we know today as just war theory. Saint Dr. Augustine, which do I call you?
Let's keep this informal. Okay, Hillary?
Okay, Augustine. Tell us, Augustine, how can war be deemed just?
Well, Hillary, we first need to address two broad issues when we are considering justice in relationship to war. First is jus ad bellum, which refers in the decision to resort to war. When one resorts to war, it must be for a good purpose, and not for self-gain or enrichment. The second is jus in bello, or justice in the ways and means of waging war. It is important to realize that it is immoral for individuals to resort to violence, but sometimes a nation has a right, or even an obligation to enter into war.
An obligation to enter into war? You didn't happen to be on George Bush's Iraq War Advisory Council, did you? Seriously, Augustine, how do you actually determine if a war is just?
Well, Hillary, I never met George Bush, but there are 6 criteria to judge if a particular war is justified. First, there must be a just cause. To determine this, we must be open and honest about the facts, what we value, what the probable outcome will be, and why we want that outcome. Second is the intention behind the war. They must be good or right. War is unacceptable if the intention behind the war is not morally justified. The third criteria should interest you, Hillary.
Really, Augustine? How so?
Well, the third criteria is that the war must be sanctioned by a legitimate authority, and not just an individual. You know, like the President, Congress, the United Nations, or the junior senator from New York.
Well, how was I to know?
Our fourth condition in determining a just war is that the predicted results must include more good than bad. We call this proportionality. It must be decided if the deaths that will undoubtedly occur are worth the desired results of the war.
Well, that's very easy for you to decide when you won't be the one to die. Isn't it, Augustine?
You mean like you decide if babies are to be subjected to death by abortion?
Yes, very clever, Augustine. Why don't you tell us the last 2 criteria a saint has for waging war?
Certainly, Hillary. There must be a reasonable hope of success. Even if all previous criteria are satisfied, a war is not morally acceptable if it has no hope of success. Finally, a war must be fought only as a last resort. This means that all peaceable means have been exhausted. War must be a last resort.
This is all well and good, Augustine, but I fail to see how any human being or group can look at war without their own self-interests getting in the way.
Well, Hillary, you might have more luck with it if certain political parties didn't spend most of their time trying to eliminate God from everyday life.
What do you know, Augustine? I'm a powerful senator in the world's greatest nation.
Yes, and I'm just a saint who's been dead for over 1,600 years who's managed to show up here in your studio.
Well, thank you for your time tonight, Augustine. Please join us tomorrow night when we interview Socrates and find out why he really drank that hemlock.